How's it going, friends? I was reading an article about the new PlayStation Emulator, and I was unfortunately, apparently, it's not doing too well. They sold it for 100 when it first came out. They just dropped the price down to 60, which is not what they expected because when they made the Nintendo emulator, the NES one and the Super NES, the official ones, they expected them to. If you don't know what an emulator is either, check out the other video I have. I'll put it in the comments. But they expected them to, because when they made other emulators, they had them sell out pretty fast. They were really high demand. I mean, honestly, I was trying to get one for my uncle because he was a big NES fan. He got the original NES, and when he originally got the original NES, he got a certificate from the store that said your NES is on the way, and he had to wait like 6 months for it to come. So after he got the Christmas present, all he got was just a certificate from the store that said he got a Nintendo, but it was on the way. But that's because that's how popular they were at the time. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. The Nintendo, when it first came out, I mean, it was called the Famicom in Japan. And to sell it in America, they had to jump through a lot of loopholes just to sell in America because video games were frowned upon at one time. It's a very, very interesting story. But Sony expected their emulator to do as well, so they made a lot of product. Unfortunately, I guess it didn't do as well. You know, they just didn't. People really didn't care for it, and there's a lot of talk about people not liking PlayStation as much as they do Nintendo. I can kind of see that, and I'm not saying PlayStation's bad. I'm just saying Nintendo's got a certain nostalgia for a lot of people. I know for a fact that Nintendo was my first video game system I ever played in the N64. It was Super Mario 64. That was the first game I ever played. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking that. Ninja Turtle popped in my mind for some reason, but I don't know why. Dinosaurs do too. But anyway, so yeah, Nintendo's got a special place in people's hearts. And, I mean, the Game Boy was the first major handheld system that a lot of kids owned. I had a Game Boy Pocket where you can control the contrast on it. It had no blacklight at all. You had to use a light to see the screen. And if you couldn't see the screen, that was the worst. That was the ultimatum for past gaming. When you used the handheld, you had to use a light to see the screen, but then the light would cause a glare on the screen so you couldn't see what was going on. I mean, it was weird. It was a weird time back then. So you had to mess with the contrast to make it lower or higher depending on the situation. And then they made the special official lights that you could plug into the side like a USB. It was really weird. You could plug it into the side and you could point the light and angle it towards the screen, and that was a whole other thing. And it wasn't until the Game Boy SP that you actually had a black light. I mean, once that came in, that changed the whole game forever. They never went back. But anyway, the PlayStation emulator, I guess they had a lot of games too that weren't really major titles for the PlayStation. Like they had the original Grand Theft Auto, which is not like anything like the Grand Theft Auto that is now. It was really different. It was more like APB, an old arcade game. They had some other games like Cool Boarding that I never even remember playing. Maybe I played it once. I remember like 1080 on the N64, but I don't remember any Cool Boarding. They had Metal Gear Solid, which is a pretty good game. That's a pretty good game to have it. They had Tekken, which is a great game. That's another original. But I guess people just weren't going for them. So now they kind of turned down the price, and they're like $60. You can get them for $60, which isn't bad. But apparently, too, a lot of the emulators, they don't emulate too well. I don't know too much about it. I got to look into it. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for PlayStation. I mean, I probably would have got one if they had Broken Sword and the Bushido Blade. That was a crazy game. That's an old game. Bushido Blade, like, it was one of the first games where if you attack somebody, you had to do, like, perfect combos. You had to block real good and to, like, attack at the right moment. You could kill somebody really easily, or you could wound them. And, like, if you hit their leg, they limped. If you hit their arm went down. It was a fun game. It was a great game. I remember that. I remember the Digimon game, which was basically like a ripoff of Smash Brothers, but it was still pretty good. I remember, what else? Twisted Metal. That's on the PlayStation Emulator. That was a great game. Oh my gosh, I remember that. I remember playing Twisted Metal 1 and 2. Those were fun games. Like, it was Mario Kart for adults. It really, really was. But I played it as a kid. It was so much fun. Now, playing it nowadays, though, it gave me a headache. I played it one time and it gave me a really bad headache. I just wanted to throw up because it was like so motion sickness. It was a different time. Uh, but Broken Sword, I remember Broken Sword. That was a fun game. That's not on there though. But Broken Sword, I was just watching a video about it. It's a point and click adventure game, which is an old style gaming that I don't think exists anymore. It's been replaced with the new Telltale series games like Walking Dead and stuff like that. That's the new point and click adventure games. But oh yeah, I guess that is click and point, huh? Anyway, uh this game was cartoon drawn animation, and it was about a guy who was visiting France when he got blown up by a clown that was trying to kill this guy. Anyway, yeah, Broken Sword was an old game. It was like animations, a point and click adventure where you had to. This clown had blown up a cafe and it killed this guy. They stole a briefcase. Uh, I was watching a video and it was funny because I forgot, like, as a kid, you don't realize how crazy a lot of stuff is. But this guy just got blown up and he's getting up and he's, like, removing evidence and he's asking questions to this lady. And he's trying to walk away from the scene of a crime. I mean, and the cops come in and they investigate. They hold him at gunpoint. He's a victim of a terrorist attack and they hold him at gunpoint. They force him back to the scene of the crime instead of providing him medical attention. And they question him. They then let him go, and he goes and does a whole little adventure where he goes from everywhere, from like Ireland to Spain. Where else does he go? I want to say he goes back to America, but I don't think he does. But anyway, it's just funny. It's funny. The guy who wrote it, I laugh because the story is so outrageous. It's got like a certain noir theme type of story going on. I mean, it's just real funny. It's really, really